Now I want to do an update about the doctor in India that was raped and unalived in the most horrific way, Dr. Moumita Dabnath. I learned that India scrubs the names of rape victims. So in many of these news articles, they're just calling her the doctor. So I wanted to start off by calling her name. Justice for Dr. Moumita Dabnath. They are still protesting in India. This is an article out of the BBC. Tear gas fired at protesters angry at Indian doctors unaliving. Police in the eastern Indian city of Kolkata have fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse thousands of protesters demanding justice for the rape and unaliving of a trainee doctor at a state-run hospital earlier this month. The discovery of the body of the 31-year-old sparked nationwide outrage over the crisis of violence against women. On Tuesday, thousands marched to a government building in Kolkata demanding the resignation of West Bengal's Chief Minister Moumita Banerjee. A hospital volunteer has been arrested in connection with the crime, which has now been handed over to India's CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, after criticism of local police slow progress. The protesters chanted slogans and clashed with police who used batons to disperse the crowd. Namita Ghosh, a college student at the protest, told news agency AFP the crowd intended to protest peacefully before the baton charge. A senior police official, speaking anonymously, said at least 100 protesters were arrested for creating violence. A series of protests have taken place since the unaliving on the 9th of August. The largest saw tens of thousands of women across West Bengal participating in the Reclaim the Night March on August 14th to demand independence, to live in freedom and without fear. But since then, some of the protests have escalated into chaotic political rallies, with police clashing with the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, demonstrators angry at the state government. The BJP, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but an opposition party in West Bengal, has accused Ms. Banerjee's government of fostering an unsafe environment for women, which they claimed enabling crimes like the doctor's unaliving. Her half-naked body, bearing extensive injuries, was discovered in a seminar hall at R.J. Carr Medical College, where she had reportedly gone to rest during her shift. India's Supreme Court has said the incident has shocked the conscience of the nation and criticized authorities for their handling of the investigation. Ms. Banerjee's government has announced a slew of measures for women's safety at workplaces, including designated retiring rooms and CCTV monitored safe zones at state-run hospitals. More incidents of rape have made headlines in India since the woman's death, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that monstrous behavior against women should be severely and quickly punished. But without content creators highlighting the rape culture of India and the global news coverage, I doubt that women would start getting more and more of this type of coverage. So I'm switching gears a little bit. The CBI has conducted searches at the house of former principal Dr. Sandeep Ghosh and multiple other locations in the city. So this is the man that they are searching his premises. The Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, has named Sandeep Ghosh, former principal of R.G. Carr Medical College and Hospital, in the FIR the agency has filed in connection with its probe into the alleged financial irregularities at the institution during his tenure. The agency has slapped Section 120B of IPC criminal conspiracy, read with Section 420 IPC, cheating and dishonesty, and Section 7 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, 1988, which covers unlawful acceptance of gratification by a public servant. I think that they are trying to tie him to, I think they're talking about there is an ex-trafficking ring that was happening at the hospital. So far, this man right here, and another man that was a volunteer worker are the highlights, but the way they were talking about the torture that this woman went through, there are supposedly more people, more men that were responsible. But so far, this is the top person that they are going after. All right, so join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to share these. I think that India is going to have to grapple with their violence against women and rape culture because the globe is watching. All of us are watching and putting out articles about it. So, like, comment, and share. Now I want to shift to the horrific conditions that Afghanistan women and girls are having to live under the rule of the Taliban. This article is coming out of The Guardian. Other publications are talking about it, but it says frightening Taliban law bans women from speaking in public. New Taliban laws that prohibit women from speaking or showing their faces outside their homes have been condemned by the UN and met with horror by human rights groups. The Taliban published a host of new vice and virtue laws last week, approved by their supreme leader, Habatullah Ashadzada, which states that women must completely veil their bodies, including their faces, in thick clothing at all times in public to avoid leading men into temptation and vice. Women's voices are also deemed to be potential instruments of vice, so will not be allowed to be heard in public under the new restrictions. Women must also not be heard singing or reading aloud, even from inside their houses. Whenever an adult woman leaves her home out of necessity, she is obliged to conceal her voice, face, and body, the new laws state. Men will also be required to cover their bodies from their navels to their knees when they are outside of their homes. From now on, Afghan women are also not allowed to look directly at men they are not related to by blood or marriage, and taxi drivers will be punished if they agree to drive a woman who is without a suitable male escort. Women and girls who fail to comply can be detained and punished in a manner deemed appropriate by Taliban officials and charged with upholding the new laws. The restrictions have been condemned by Rosa Otunbayeva, the special UN's representative for Afghanistan, who has said they extend the intolerable restrictions on the rights of women and girls already imposed by the Taliban since they took over power in 2021. It is a distressing vision for Afghanistan's future, where moral inspectors have discretionary powers to threaten and detain anyone based on broad and sometimes vague lists of infractions, she said in a statement on Sunday. It extends the already intolerable restrictions on the rights of Afghan women and girls, with even the sound of a female voice outside the home apparently deemed a moral violation. Speaking to Rukshana Media, Mir Abdul Wahid Sadat, the president of the Afghan Lawyers Association, said that the new laws contradicted Afghanistan's domestic and international legal obligations. From a standpoint, this document faces serious issues. It contradicts the fundamental principles of Islam, where the promotion of virtue has never been defined through force, coercion, or tyranny. This document not only violates Afghanistan's domestic laws, but also broadly contravenes all 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Taliban government does not have any sort of legitimacy, and these new edicts designed to further erase and suppress women are an indication of their hatred towards women, says Fazia Kufi, an Afghan human rights activist who was the first woman vice president of the Afghan parliament. When they say women cannot speak in public as they regard women's voices as a form of intimacy, it is incredibly frightening. Yet the whole world acts like this is normal. There have been very few reactions of comments to what is happening, and the Taliban are emboldened by this indifference. It is not only women, but all human beings they are targeting. They must be held accountable. Shukriya Barakzai, a former Afghan parliamentarian who was Afghanistan's ambassador to Norway, agreed on the international community's silence on the Taliban's oppression of Afghanistan's 14 million women and girls had played its part in the criminalization of women's bodies and voices. It is concerning that the international organizations, particularly the UN and the European Union, instead of standing against these inhumane practices, are trying to normalize relations with the Taliban. They are, in a way, whitewashing this group, disregarding the fact that the Taliban are committing widespread human rights violations. In the 3 years since seizing power from the US backed government, the Taliban have imposed what human rights groups are calling a gender apartheid, excluding women and girls from almost every aspect of public life and denying them access to the justice system. Prior to the new vice and virtue laws, women and girls were already blocked from attending secondary school, banned from almost every form of paid employment, and prevented from walking in public parks, attending gyms, or beauty salons, and told to comply with a strict dress code. Earlier this year, the Taliban also announced the reintroduction of public flogging and stoning of women for adultery. This is where we are. This is what women and girls are facing. These women and girls are basically being erased. The the world has got to do something to protect women and girls globally, because women and girls cannot go through this. This is inhumane. This is terrible. And the globe needs to do something about this. Join the conversation. Please share this. Please, if you're a content creator, create your own content, but get the word out about what women and girls are facing on an international level. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.